Saturday morning. Coffee, grey cat, no keyboard sound. I sit down at the Mac, hit right command and just talk to Claude Code. The prompt appears on screen and I haven't touched a key. This is already how I work every day. I used to type every prompt. Now I dictate almost all of them and typeless is what I reach for. I spent a full Saturday using it for everything. Braindumping my plate, answering the agent's questions, playing with the cat in the other room and firing off commands from my phone. This video is what changes when voice replaces typing as your default way into Claude Code and the handful of moments where typing still wins. Sponsored by Typeless. I open a fresh Claude Cowork session, not Claude Code. This is my personal OS for everything I do, not only engineering. Fresh context every morning, that's the point. It reads my Claude.md, then the markdown notes the previous day's agent left behind, so it knows where I stopped. Then it asks, what's on your mind today? Go ahead and ramble, I'll structure this for you. That's where I hit write command and start talking. Saturday's plate. Write the typeless script, watch the AI engineering course on Frontend Masters, clean up the apartment. That's it. Here's the actual difference voice makes for me. When I type a prompt, I'm doing two things at once. Figuring out what I mean and structuring it cleanly enough for the model to act on. The second job slows the first one down. With typeless, I can just talk. I dump half-formed thoughts in whatever order they come, and typeless turns that into clean, structured text on the first pass. No editing, no second draft. Claude then takes that text and turns it into a to-do list with follow-up questions and the occasional pushback when my reasoning is off. 2 passes of cleanup and I did neither of them. The keyboard version of this is a 5-minute task. The voice version is 40 seconds. Yes, Claude Cowork has its own microphone button. I could press that and dictate directly and it works, but it's worse than typeless. The recognition is rougher on technical terms, and I lose the cleanup pass that turns my rambling into something the agent can read directly. I'm dictating these lines into the same setup right now and it's just faster. By the time I'd have typed this sentence, I've moved on to the next 2. Through the day, I keep coming back to that session for quick research asks. Give me the 3 bullet points on X. Find me a good example of Y, also by voice. Typing is what I do when my wife has a meeting in the same room and I don't want to interrupt. During my daily work, I'm a software engineer and that means Claude Code in a terminal. Same write command, same dictation flow. And this is where Claude Code's own built-in voice mode falls apart. The agent is mid-task and needs a decision from me. An AskUserQuestion dialog pops up with 4 options and a type your own field at the bottom. Normal multi-choice prompt. I reach for the built-in voice to speak my answers into that type your own field. It doesn't work. There is just no way to dictate into the AskUserQuestion field with the built-in voice. It doesn't activate inside the dialog at all. Voice is useless for the exact moment I need it most, which is when the agent is asking me to decide. This isn't a one-off glitch on my own machine. It's GitHub issue 30974, filed on March 5th, closed in April as not planned. Anthropic isn't fixing it. Same dialog, I just hit write command and typeless takes over. Speak into the type your own field and the answer lands where it should. First try. The trick is scope. Claude Code's voice is wired into the main prompt input and only the main prompt input. Sub-dialogues inside the same app, like AskUserQuestion, are out of reach. Typeless is OS level. It doesn't know what Claude Code is, it doesn't know what a dialog is, it doesn't care which window has focus, it just types into whatever cursor is active. That's the difference. A system-wide dictation layer wins over a built-in one because it doesn't assume where you'll use it. Head-to-head, one technical prompt dictated into both tools back-to-back. Claude Code's built-in voice transcribes Claude Code as Cloud Code. Typeless gets it right. A third-party tool beating Anthropic at the name of Anthropic's own product. 2 reasons it wins. First, Typeless reads the focused window title through the macOS Accessibility API and uses that as context, so if I'm in a Claude Code terminal, it leans toward Claude, not Cloud. Second, there is a custom dictionary. I filled mine with the terms I actually use every day. Claude, OpenStack, GSD, MCP, a few more. 30-second setup in the settings panel. After that, the recognition does what I need on my real vocabulary. There is more in the settings, but the dictionary is the one to care about. It will save you a lot of suffering, especially if you are not a native speaker like me. Half my vocabulary is product names and acronyms the model has never heard pronounced with my accent. The dictionary closes the gap. And it's not just the long prompts where a voice wins. Half of what I say to Claude Code is short and snappy. Move that button 20 pixels right. This overlaps, fix it. Undo that one. The kind of one-liners I'd never bother to type out. Hit a key, say it in a second, move on. The brain dump is the obvious win. The tiny interactions are the underrated one. Afternoon. I want to step away from the desk and play with the cat in the other room. She's been staring at me for an hour. But I don't want to stop the agent, and there is a feature in Claude Code that's perfect for this. On my Mac, in the active session, I type Remote Control. From the Claude Code mobile app on my phone, I open the connected session. From that point on, both sides stay in sync. One session shared across the Mac and the phone, with all the context and MCP servers intact. I can type or dictate from the phone, the agent runs everything on the Mac, the output shows up on both screens. The phone is just another way to send input and see output for the same session. Now the typeless iOS keyboard. Pop it open, hit dictate, talk. The prompt lands in the Claude Code app, the agent runs it on the Mac, results come back on the phone, I'm on the couch, cat is happy, work is still moving. There is one honest caveat. The first time you use the typeless keyboard on iOS, you have to swipe back into the typeless app to enable the mic. That's the Apple restriction on third-party keyboards, and every other keyboard with voice has the same extra step. Not typeless fault, not going away. Remote Control needs Claude Code 2.1.51 or newer and a paid plan. Worth knowing before you go looking for it. A quick note on those key bindings. The right command shortcuts I keep mentioning are mine. Typeless defaults to the Fn key, but on my keyboard Fn sits in an inconvenient spot, so I remapped everything to the right-hand modifiers. Right command for dictation, right command plus shift for translation, right command plus option for ask anything. Worth doing if your defaults feel awkward. Evening of clock. Typeless ships with two more features I haven't really used during the workday because they aren't engineering tools, but they exist. Translation is the one I actually reach for. As good as my English is, sometimes I just can't phrase something the way I would in my native language. Concise, punchy, the right word in the right place. So I say it in my own language and Typeless gives me the English version. I'd understand it perfectly if someone said it to me. I'd never write it that well myself. That gap is real and the tool closes it. Ask anything, right command plus option is a quick Q&A overlay that pops up an AI answer wherever your cursor is. Quick rewrites, summaries, that kind of thing. Honestly, I don't use it much. What didn't work today? Overstructuring. Removing filler is great, I want that, but sometimes I dictate a few sentences and they come back as a numbered list. I didn't ask for a list. I expect the sentences to follow what I actually said in roughly the order I said them. Instead, Typeless decided 3 of my points deserved bullets. The output is clean, it's just not the shape I had in my head. Ideally, there'd be a setting for how much structuring you want, a slider from stay close to what I said up to feel free to restructure. Right now it's one mode, and that mode does a lot. That's the feature I'd ask for. The real shift here isn't that I added voice on top of typing, it's that typing became the fallback. Voice is now the default way I prompt Claude Code, and the keyboard is what I reach for when the voice doesn't fit. Brain dumps, agent questions, one-line commands, all faster spoken. Typing is for shared rooms and code edits. Typeless is the tool I ended up using for all of it. Mac, Windows, iOS, Android. If you want to try it, the link is in the description. You get a 1-month free trial to try it on your real workflow, plus $5 of credit toward your first invoice if you sign up through it. That's more than enough to know if it fits. One more honest thing. The more you talk to your computer, the more your cat starts meowing back. If she is asleep, she stays asleep unless you work. If you start dictating long prompts out loud, she suddenly has opinions. Trade-off worth knowing.